All right, kids, so today we're going to hit these two paragraphs. The first one we're going to hit is our, I'll move that up, our counterclaim for our argumentative essay. We're going to write this down. There's a few things we need to hit today. Counterclaim, cite one, cite one, explain two, and I'm going to add one that says rebuttal, because I think it's needed. And we'll get to that in a minute. We're going to acknowledge our claims, but we're going to destroy the claims that are made. So the first thing we need for our counterclaim is we got to think about the opposite argument for our paper here. And the argument we're making is that practice is better. So the opposite argument would be that now practice isn't better, natural skill is better. So that's what we're going to add. I have one down here I'm going to steal. Cool. So the counterclaim I'm going to make, and you can copy it right now, is I'm going to make my claim. However, both articles do talk about the importance of talent. And then I'm going to explain it. So talent is important. There's evidence. So, however, both articles do talk about the importance of talent. There's evidence that, at least at the beginning, some children do show natural ability. Practice enhances this. This is my counterclaim. I'm saying, hey, look, there is practice, and practice is good, but there is also natural talent that practice does help. And then I'm going to cite my evidence. So if you need to pause here to write down this counterclaim, go. I'll make it bigger. Never mind. It's going to stay the same size. All right. So for my first citation, I want to prove that talent exists and that some kids do show natural ability. Boom. And here's what I came up with, and you can copy it. Article 1 mentions prodigies. It states, no one knows exactly why some kids' brains are different. Scientists also found that prodigies' brains are able to help them focus better when they are learning. So, I've got my counterclaim, and I got my first citation, and it's this long. This is just intro to it. Okay. You can pause here if you need to get your cite one. Now we're going to explain. And what are we going to explain? This. No one knows why some kids' brains are different. Scientists also found prodigies' brains are able to help them focus better when they are learning. So we're going to come up with the explain that I had. Copy it. Worked ahead a little bit for you. Here's my explanation. Yeah, there is at least some evidence that kids have an increased ability to focus when they're young. Their brains function slightly different than other kids. They can learn easier. Boom. That's my explanation. Now, I'm going to have another citation that proves the counterclaim. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to make one. So now I'm going to find another quote that proves it. I'm going to get one from the other article, if I can, passage 2. This one came from passage 1, by the way. I forgot to mention that. So now I'm in passage 2. You can hear it right here. I'm looking on the back page now. I didn't see anything on the front that I like. I found one in the end. I'm going to say passage 2 states. Well, you know what I might want to add to the front, at the top of this, and maybe you could just stick it up here. I forgot. I might want to add a however. I want to add maybe a transition word for my counterclaim. I'm going to stick mine here. However. Oh, I have it here. Sorry about that. Okay, let's go back down. So for my citation, this is in the last paragraph of passage 2. It says, as of yet, no one can say what's more important to musical ability, innate talent, or practice and hard work. So that is my second citation. So it's another quote to prove my counterclaim, my opposite argument that I needed in the 8th grade. You did this in 7th grade too. So my, how would I explain this? Yeah, I would say something like, This article is acknowledging, I can spell, this article is acknowledging that innate talent, and I stole that from right here, at least plays a part in skill. It is something that matters. So I've got my 2-sentence explanation. So what's my article really saying? I've got my counterclaim. Both articles do talk about why talent is important. I want to make sure I hit this. And that at least at the beginning, some kids do show ability. I've got one proof that says their brains are able to help them focus better, and I explain that. I've got another one that says, no one can say what's more important, innate talent or practice and hard work. And so I can at least say, hey, there's at least a role for natural talent. Now, ultimately, I don't want this to be proven too well because I believe practice is better. So I want to at least have a sentence in here that acknowledges, the counterclaim, but that sets my paper back on the right course. I am acknowledging the argument, but I'm going to end my paragraph by saying, here's the argument, but basically I disagree. But I'm at least talking about it. That's the point of a counter argument. We're showing that we can think about the opposite side, which is really important. Okay, so even with, I'm going to make this less bold. Even with all of this information saying that innate talent is important, there is still a large amount of evidence showing that practice is important. Even if you have that natural talent, it's practice that gets you, not you, one, even if, let's get rid of the yous, I'm sorry, someone has that natural talent, it's practice that gets them to the next level. So here's my counterclaim paragraph. I got my counterclaim, I got my first citation, I explain it, second citation, I explain it, and then I'm going to get this paper back on course by saying, even with all this information saying talent is important, there's still a large amount of evidence showing that practice is, I'm going to even add at least equally important. Even if someone has natural talent, it's practice that gets them to the next level. Okay, a little bit of editing there. This is my paragraph. So pause here if you need to. And then finally, we have our closing paragraph. We got to restate our thesis. We got to summarize our body paragraphs with no new information. And we got to have a call to action. In this case, I know my action is going to be to practice. So that's what I'm going to. Oh my gosh, I'm going to spell correctly. That's what I'm going to make my call to action. So the thesis, I had it up here. I'm just going to steal it. So I have it for later. Okay. So my thesis, now I'm going to have a transition. How about in closing? Practice is more important than natural talent in developing a skill or ability. Okay? And now I'm going to summarize it. What were my 3 body paragraphs? Now that depends on the class, but I'm going to make them up for this. Yours might be different. Just summarize your 3 paragraphs here. You might have to think outside the box for these 3 because yours is going to look different than mine. But my first argument was, let me see, essay guide for teacher. I can actually tell you what your 3 were. Block 1, yours were here. Practice is more important than natural ability in developing a skill. Learn practice makes you more proficient. Dedication and wanting something make you better, and natural talent gets you so far. So if you want yours, block 1, here you go. Right here. Block 2, skip down. Block 2, yours are here. Practice further strengthens your natural ability. The harder you work, the more successful you are, and it can get you farther than natural talent. I'll use that one for my example. And I think I have block 3 in here too. I do. So block 3. Here's what we came up with. Because deliberate practice improves skill. Practice takes determination, which means someone cares. And over time, natural talent doesn't set someone apart. Practice becomes the key. So those are your 3. You know what? I'll do block 3. So we'll pretend like these are my 3. Okay? Okay, let's go to my other document. So in closing, I'm going to paste it in here because I don't have both pages in front of me. Practice is more important than developing natural talent and developing a skill or ability because, I'm going to summarize. So the first one I'm going to summarize. Deliberate practice improves skill. Okay, so. As stated above, when you practice intentionally, it does improve your skill. Okay? The next one, practice takes determination, which means someone cares. So I could say, practice demonstrates, I can spell, someone cares and has determination. Okay. And then what's my last one? Natural talent doesn't set someone apart. Okay. Maybe I'll say natural talent may start you off strong, but over time it doesn't set you apart. I might even throw the counter argument in there and say like, how would I say it? Innate ability exists, but it's not the key. Ooh, I like that. Nice. There, I got my my counter argument in there too. I've summarized my body paragraphs. I even added a sentence on my counter argument. So that's all in there. Nice. 1 to 3 sentences. That's done. Now all I've got to do is my call to action. I want people to practice. So maybe I could say something like, practicing every day is a guaranteed way to reach one's goal and master a skill. There's my call to action. Done. So here's my counter argument. I'll stick it here for you. Let me get rid of this. Boom. So here's your closing paragraph. Okay, copy those, and then you're going to turn those into the sub.